Namaste, I'm Shashank and I welcome you to my channel, The HINDIAN Narrative. Today I shall discuss with you a little about the Atharvana Veda. Does Atharvana Veda contain black magic? Does it contain deep philosophical thought like the other Vedas do? What did it speak about various classes of the Indian society? Is it related to Ayurveda in any way? And more importantly, should it be considered a Veda at all? Let's find out. Atharvana Veda is the latest of all the Vedas. Its age is roughly calculated as between 1200 to 1000 BCE, although some parts of it are much older. It has 730 hymns and 6000 verses, with nearly 20% of all of those verses taken directly from the Rig Veda, the oldest Veda. Atharvana Veda is generally credited to the sages Atharva and Angirasa, and hence it is also called Atharvangirasa Veda. Atharvana Veda covers many different topics like diseases, cures, methods to increase lifespan, progress in welfare, atonement rituals, Abhicarika rituals, political system, and contemplation of Brahman, the ultimate supreme reality. Let's start with why Ayurveda and Atharvana Veda are connected. The Ayurveda, or the Indian science of health and long life, is generally attributed to Sushruta Samhita and Charaka Samhita, two different books written around 6th century BC and are the most comprehensive treatises on health and medicine at their time. Sushruta Samhita is especially relevant in the modern world because it describes in great detail various ways to perform surgeries. It has discussed about more than 100 surgical instruments and 300 surgical procedures. Both of these Samhitas clearly mention that Atharvana Veda is their inspiration. Although it has predated and inspired the Ayurveda, the text of Atharvana Veda does not contain elaborate methods on solving health problems. In fact, many of the verses in Atharvana Veda are simply charms and spells that wish the problem to go away by praying to various Vedic deities, like this one. But there are also many verses that mention rudimentary herbal medicine, like this one. It is believed that these kind of verses suggesting various herbs have inspired Charaka and Sushruta to improve the system vastly in their respective works, the Charaka Samhita and Sushruta Samhita. Their Samhitas led to the development of Ayurveda, still widely practiced all over the world, and is generally known for zero side effects and its capacity in handling long-standing chronic illnesses. A lot of research must be invested in making it work for a wide range of serious problems and also physical emergencies. It is called by the scientific community as proto-science or worse, pseudoscience. The problem with Ayurveda is that it has not been updated well enough to be considered a worldwide health alternative to modern medicine. I'll discuss the history and working of Ayurveda in a different video, in much better detail. Since we discussed about something life-giving, let's now go to something life-taking. Let's go to the claim that Atharvana Veda is associated with black magic. Well, is it true? I hope you didn't think that the answer would be a simple yes or no. There are conflicting opinions regarding the same question. Western academicians and Western scholars say that Atharvana Veda contains spells that are clearly of black or evil nature. Indian traditionalists and academicians strongly maintain that they are simply used in warfare, for defense and to win the war against enemies, and must not be understood as evil or dangerous or even primitive rituals. These spells generally come under the category of magical verses in Atharvana Veda. They could be of various types. There are verses dedicated to atonement of previously committed sins called the Prayashchitta. They are used when a mistake is done during a sacrifice or any sacred activity. I'll give an example. Interestingly, there are Vashikaran mantras or spells that make someone attract a person they love. They They are generally used after marriage to make the husband-wife relationship better, or before marriage to make a man and woman fall deeply in love. Here's an example. And then there are the Abhicarika mantras, the apparent black magic type. They invoke gods and sometimes spirits in order to inflict great harm on somebody who is obstructing the person from achieving something. They are generally used in warfare against enemies, like this one. The Abhicarika mantras are used on what the seer thinks are malicious entities. And before we judge the ancient sages for including such mantras in something as important as Vedas, we must understand that the society at the time of Atharvana Veda, that is the first millennium BCE, needed and believed in magic and spells. Magic was an integral part of their lives. What some call black magic was a necessary evil in times of crisis or anguish. Not drawing false equivalence here, but what we call a devastating nuclear bomb on Japan was a strategic decision made to end World War II. I mean, what can we say? Times change. You know what else has changed? Our Indian societies. During the time of the Atharvana Veda, the society was more liberal. And you can see in some shlokas in Atharvana Veda to understand that. Women were free to choose their husbands. Families were cherished and respected. Farmers were considered wise and creative. Knowledge was considered important for all. And trade was encouraged too. It was at this time that Hinduism got completely spread all over the Indian subcontinent. And the four Varna system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Sudra got fully established. Of course, I'll discuss the Varna system and many details about it in another video. Since we've talked about the society at the time of Atharvana Veda, now let's talk about some timeless aspects of it, its philosophy. It has 3 of the 10 most important Upanishads of Hinduism: Mundaka, Mandukya and Prashna Upanishads. The teachings of the Upanishads are generally deep contemplations about the nature of life, universe and God. Their level of thought is very lofty. They can't be understood easily. I'll give an example here. Now, whatever is said in the Upanishads is said to be experienced by the sages. Coming to the previous verse, how can we understand it? I mean, Vedas say that someone experienced it. What is beyond time? What was before time began? Is it the same thing that stays after the end of time? We might understand it only when we experience what the sage who wrote this did. There are various books that shed some light on shlokas such as this one. They are called commentaries or bhashyas. The most widely read commentary of Mandukya Upanishad is written by a sage called Gaudapada. He is known as the teacher of Adi Shankaracharya, probably the greatest and the most important reformer of Hinduism. This, along with the other principal Upanishads of Hinduism, spearheaded the development of the most respected and the most important branch of Indian philosophy, the Advaita Vedanta. Now, we've reached the part where we discuss whether or not Atharvana Veda is a Veda at all. The reason for this question is that Atharvana Veda is the youngest of the 4 Vedas. It is just 3000 years old and is simply referred to as a later edition. A lot of early Hindu literature like the Sri Ramayana mentioned 3 Vedas. Generally they use the term Vedatrayi, the trinity of the Vedas. But we must also understand that Vedatrayi could also mean 3 types of Vedic mantras: the Rik mantras of Rig Veda, Sama mantras of Sama Veda, and the Yajush or the Yajur mantras of the Yajur Veda, and not the Vedas themselves. More importantly, Atharvana Veda itself houses 3 of the 10 most important Upanishads of Hinduism, and the only source of Upanishads is the Vedas. Many Upanishads and even the Mahabharata praise the 4 Vedas together. And you know what? Atharvana Veda has many names. Brahma Veda, since its Upanishads discuss Brahman, the ultimate reality in Hinduism, and Rishabh Veda because it discusses various medicinal herbs and spells that inspired Ayurveda, and Kshatriya Veda because it discusses politics, classes, duties and various aspects of the society and kingdoms. And it is because of all these that Atharvana Veda gets that name. Atharvana is a mantra that depicts procedures for people's everyday lives, meaning that people need the mantras and the knowledge given by the Atharvana Veda every day of their lives for a happy living. That is what Veda means, after all. The knowledge that must be attained. And that makes Atharvana Veda one of the Vedas, the sacred core and heart of Hinduism.